in the age tech area, and that's very much founded on the idea that we partner with users, because when you're working with aging adults, if you don't focus on the user experience, then it's highly likely that you'll fail.
Okay, let's get started. Hi, Dom. Thank you so much for attending our podcast today. How are you?
I'm well, Kari. Thank you for having me.
Yes, actually, we are in here, Tokyo, but we met in San Francisco last week, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, it was great to meet you at the Techstars demo day. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations, George. So thanks to George, he connected to us because he was one of a selected amazing founder at the Techstars 2024 cohort. And we met at the demo day venue, right?
Yes, that's right. And it's great to see how far George has come in the last couple of years. And it was actually really, really great to see all the other startups too. I actually really enjoyed the session and hoping for great things from everybody.
Yes. So I can add George's interview video link. Please check it. So anyway, Dom, so you have unique background. You are a Australian founder CEO. You have company in Tokyo, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So could you please tell us about yourself? What do you do in Tokyo?
Sure. Well, I was born in Australia and I grew up in Australia, and I launched my career back in the mid-90s in Australia. I studied Japanese at university. I wish I had studied harder, but anyway, I had some exposure to Japanese language and culture while I was studying, and I had the opportunity to come to Japan when my company wanted to open an office here in the late 90s. So, I started working on projects in Japan, from about 1997, and was mainly working on Japanese work even when I was in Australia. And so at the beginning of 99, when they opened up their office, it was a global market research company, I did that. And I did that job for about 4 years. And then I went back to Australia. I thought, I finished up that job and I thought, okay, I'm never coming back to Japan. And then within about 6 months, I was back working with clients that I'd worked with before, and that kind of launched our business. And that was in late 2003, and we've been going ever since then.
I see. Thank you. So your company does researching for global companies, right? So let's dive into this amazing business.
Yes, well, I actually have more than one business because I get bored and I like to make things. But our largest business is a market research business, and we work with a quite wide range of different industries. So everything from filmed entertainment, video games, beverages, luxury goods, robotics. You name it, we do it in our company. We have about 40 people, and they all have quite interesting different backgrounds, which kind of suit those different categories, and keeps them very busy.
I see. So my background is a UX designer / researcher. So little bit similar. So for example, before starting to make our product or even website, I do research 2 ways. So mainly but more than. Okay, so first, competitors research, direct competitor, indirect competitor, and analyze. And then we can find their pros and cons. And then we could define, okay, maybe this is our strength or specialty. So this is before starting to make our product, I love it. And also, since we made website or product, I love to conduct user interviews, what can I say, like even Zoom or in person. What do you think? Or please try to use it. And also maybe survey is kind of a typical, like in Japanese we said ankete. I didn't know that this is not English. So tell us about your like research method, just like a typical.
Yeah, well, let me give you an example. And of course, we do lots of UX research in our company, and it's really important that you do that work and that you really align with the user so that you're innovating against a real problem. So just to give you an example, in the last 3 or 4 years, we've done about 25 projects in human-centric design in robotics. So our clients, they're very keen on making sure that they don't make the wrong type of robot for users. And there have been some interesting attempts to introduce robots into the market in Japan over the years, and varying levels of success. But our client basically said to us, well, look, we've got a 20-year project, so they're taking a long-term view. So we started off spending time just with people in their homes, with aging adults, and actually, over a range of generations, but just looking at what's it like to live at their home, and what's it like to prepare meals and clean and go shopping and all of those sorts of things. And so we've done projects that are very specific on different aspects of domestic life, and then that feeds into just a constantly improved concept for what robotics can be in the future, which is then reflected again back to more representative consumers. So ideally, you do very basic work, I think, in terms of user needs to start off with, and then sort of, if you're in a position where you can gradually develop your solution, or I would say almost like a partnership with users. I think that's the ideal way of doing things. Now, I say that as a consumer researcher, but we also we've launched projects elsewhere in the aging tech area recently with another business that we're starting in the age tech area, and that's very much founded on the idea that we partner with users, because when you're working with aging adults, if you don't focus on the user experience, then it's highly likely that you'll fail. So I think we've kind of in that area, we've got the most difficult user to work with, but in that respect, it actually makes the work the most interesting. And I think the rewards of doing that, I think, will be very high, because the problems are really high when we age. So.
I see. Thank you so much. I have tons of questions for you. But so, for example, let's imagine. So if I have a robotics company, I have many prototypes, but kind of messy. We don't know the use case. So please don't help us.
I think you should do the research before you make the prototype.
I see.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, company with lots of prototypes, but I understand. But I think sure, we can test the prototype, but I think rather than optimizing a prototype that has this much potential, why don't we make sure that we build a prototype that has this much potential, and then let's optimize that, would be the way that I would think about it. So of course we have clients that are at many different stages of their journey. Yes, well, we would put that prototype with users as close to the target user that we can. And yeah, so if it's at a stage where we can place it with them and leave it with the user for a certain period of time, and then just leave it with the user, and then we go back and talk to them. How was the experience of using
like a trial? trial and what can I say, sample.
That's right, like an in-home trial. If it's a B2C product, like if for example, if we're talking the aging tech, we might place the product in a facility, which we have done, with actually gaming concept for elderly people.
Okay, so you are talking about like aging tech business, right? And then like gamification. Interesting.
Yes, yeah.
More.
We worked with we worked with an Israeli company that developed like a tabletop game. So it projected these sort of games and like really simple but quite fun games. Actually, we enjoyed playing them in the office as well. But we set that up in a nursing home. And basically, how are people going to react to this in real life? Is it something that they're going to want to keep?
Okay, so my understanding is this project goal is to help elderly people who is almost all sometimes losing conscious, right?
Well, people are differing. I mean, the whole area of age tech, as we call it now, is a really wide area. I mean, you could argue that it starts from your 50s. When people think of age tech, it's quite natural. Like we immediately think of care tech. So we might think of robots that can do all sorts of things to help people that have lost some of their abilities, some of their physical abilities. But there's a whole range of possibilities. Even as let's say in your 50s, you may start looking at cognitive training, fitness, all of that kind of stuff. If it's something that we feel we need because we're getting older, I think that's age tech.
I love that because in Japan, I think from the research, 10% of people are like over 80 years old, right? And then younger people, many people don't want to get married anymore, unfortunately. So our population is like shrinking. So that's why you started to have interest to start your age tech.
Well, in Japan last year, the excess of deaths over births was over 800,000. So that's really, I was just in Canada recently in Edmonton speaking to some people, and basically that's 2/3 of your city is not there anymore if you're in Japan, and net migration is still quite low. So Japan is losing it's losing people. The population is shrinking. The proportion of older people is increasing. It's already 30% over the age of 65, and that will increase from here for some years. So it's a little bit, and of course one of the issues is that. So people my age, so I just turned 50. So people in my age in Japan are the children of the baby boomers, Japan's baby boomer generation. But we haven't had children to this anything like the extent of our parents. So we don't really have so many people to look after us. So the implementation of aging tech and tech that is going to help us as we age is actually a little bit of an emergency in Japan. It's like a slow-moving emergency, but it's very, very important. And it's really important that we actually get users to come along on that journey as well. Because if we just make tech because we think it's a great solution and push that onto users, especially with aging adults, you get a lot of rejection. And I've seen that in my own family with my parents when, I was trying to get them to use Apple Watches and smart speakers and those emergency pendants that you wear if you fall and so forth. Just had very, very little success with my parents in getting them to adopt those things. But I think their lives would have been better had they done that. So I think, I've got a bit of a personal kind of push behind me on that, because I really would like I would like less people to, be in bad situations as they age. And as I get older too, I don't have kids. So, I think I'm going to need it. So there's a little bit of self-interest there as well.
This is so great because, for example, 4 years ago, it was pandemic. At the time, I was in New York. In New York, many single people. Of course, Tokyo also same because of big city. And then, so we often talk about if I get COVID, who can find me like that? So in Japanese, we said kodokushi, like loneliness dying, without someone can find us, right? So, this is the fearness, scared. So I am super interesting your idea.
Yes, well, there's a lot of people in Japan that die alone, and it's a real problem. And because there's a stigma around that as well, it's a problem. You can't, if someone dies in a property, it's I think there's a lot of demand, there's a lot of need for it. And we're leaning into that very much so.
The 3 key takeaways from the conversation with Dom, part 1. 1. Aging tech solutions backed up user-centric research. Dom shared how his company worked with aging adults in Japan to design robotics tailored to real-life needs. For example, they conducted in-home research to observe daily activities like meal preparation and cleaning. These insights shaped long-term robotics project, ensuring the product align with users' daily changes and preference. 2. Gamified tech for elderly engagement. Dom discussed collaborating with Israeli company that developed tabletop gaming technology for elderly care facilities. By projecting interactive games, they created a fun and engaging way for residents to stay cognitively active. Feedback from nursing home trials helped refine the product and assess its potential for broader adoption. 3. Agency of tech adoption for Japan's aging society. Dom highlighted Japan's unique demographic crisis, where 30% of the population is over 65. He shared his personal experience of encouraging his parents to use smart speakers and emergency pendant, but facing resistance. This challenge underscored the importance of creating intuitive aging tech solutions and addressing the stigma surrounding tech adoption among older adults. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. If you like this episode, please subscribe it and give you a like. Okay? So next episode is the conversation with Dom part 2. Okay? Thank you so much. Bye bye. Ciao.